I'm looking forward to the discussion group. I see that Roz has already joined us. Wonderful to see her here in the group. Many of you have already met Roz through the video letters that she's been sending you. So, Catherine, is this where we take a break?
Yes. So this is just a little break for those of us who have been on for an hour. And just give you time to get a drink and settled in for top of the hour when we start promptly.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll leave everything turned on, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Yeah, and I'm going to try turning the microphone, leaving the microphone on if you want to chat. If any of you want to chat for the next 5 minutes. If not, please do mute yourselves. Otherwise, it gets pretty unbearable. See you in 5.
احنا كلياتنا ميوتد باي شو اسمه ما
Is it a child wailing?
No, it's the call to prayer. Someone.
What is it? No, you can hear it. Yeah. It's called to prayer. It's been muted now, I think. Oh no, it's there. It's called to
No, I think it's
Could you?
Apa itu? Hello? 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 Wow.
Okay, I want to warmly welcome everyone. We're about to start. Just if you haven't voted yet in the quick poll, just let us know how you're doing in week 3. As you know, your peer reviews are due tomorrow. All right, so give you a few more minutes. 60% have voted, so just check the box or check the actually this time the item that is closest to where you are, and then we'll get started. And very pleased to have Ross Tennyson along with us. Along with, I know there were other remote partnering practitioners who had announced they would be joining this session. So looking forward to seeing them. All right, we've got 3/4 of people who have completed the poll. So let me just close it and share the results so that we can kick off. So, and you are free to share your webcam, of course. So let me share the results. Okay, 4% say that you reviewed the update on how to perform peer review. I would suggest reviewing that update before you do your peer reviews. 1 in 5 have completed 1 or 2. A third have completed all 3. That's great. A third are behind, but confident that you're going to finish by tomorrow, which is a deadline. And round 1 and 8 say you're going to need more time for peer review. Maybe you did not realize that could be an option. It will give you less time to revise and finalize and improve your plan. But if you need that time in order to honor your colleagues and their work, that could be a kind of last resort option. All right, very nice to see some faces as well. Let's kick off. So you know the agreement for the discussion group. You also know who the contributors are. And by week 3, you understand the meeting structure. So we have, and this will be the first point on the agenda, a peer review emergency. And I'm going to briefly just explain what that means. To give you a sense, you may have clicked on the analytics in Creator. Yes, and I don't have the time. We don't have the time to go into what this is showing you, but this is a wonderful way of seeing how you are doing. You can just get in there and click around and discover, how you are doing compared to the rest of the group, how you're doing with respect to the requirements that we've set. Now, how are we doing as a community? So first of all, the good news, and this is absolutely staggeringly amazing, yes, is that 3/4 of you actually put in a remote partnering plan. Typically, online courses get between 4 and 10% completion, and that is considered acceptable. So you are way above and beyond. Basically, 10 people never started their creator project, despite our best effort and theirs, perhaps, and 10 started their project but did not finish. So this is where we stand, and I want to recognize, and you'll find in the discussion group slide deck, the names of these scholars who were able to submit a plan. So altogether, when we print out the plans that you developed, we now have 300 pages that you've written in 2 weeks. First alone, and now we are at the stage of peer review. So with 55 remote partnering plans in peer review, we need 3 reviews per plan, so that's 165 altogether. And this is where we get to the peer review emergency, is that as of Thursday morning, only 27 peer reviews have been submitted so far. So there's a real tension between how hard you worked in the first 2 weeks and what exactly might be happening this week. Yes, whether, and really what's at stake is whether you are going to honor the commitment that you made to each other by signing up for this course, that because this is peer learning, your colleagues are dependent, are waiting for your feedback that is going to help them improve, and you are waiting for theirs. So it is not only a question of certification or of the course team's engagement, but it's really what you owe to each other, people that you have now been working with for several weeks, getting to know in the discussion groups through the remote coffee trials. We need 138 reviews, and we need them by tomorrow evening, Geneva time. So with that introduction, I'd like to now turn to Catherine and Roz, and in particular, Roz has been following along and shown a lot of passion for an interest in what is happening for this, with the course. So I'm really looking forward to hearing her feedback and observations.
Hi, it's Roz here. Thank you, Reda. Hello, Kath. Hello, everybody. It's fantastic to see some faces on the screen and to recognise how many of you are across the world engaging with this programme, which, as Reda suggests, is a programme that's very dear to my heart. Catherine and I really worked for the last year and a half to get this programme up and running, so it's just an extraordinary sensation to see that it is operational and seems to be doing some really exciting things, or you seem to be doing some really exciting things. I've only got a few sort of comments because I want to leave space for lots of discussion about other things that you want to talk about. But I guess I would start where Reda finished, which is basically to emphasize the experience that you're having in writing peer reviews and receiving peer reviews, and how like that is to when you work with your partners. And some of your partners are on the ball and very quickly respond and are very animated and take responsibility, and some of your partners are not and don't. And this is in a way a model of what you're going through now, that when you don't step up or somebody else doesn't step up towards you, it's a microcosm of what many of us experience in our partnership work. So the frustration and disappointment that you experience, or that you may be generating by not being able to contribute to your peer reviews on time, is really kind of a mirror, and is part of the whole process we all as practitioners need to go through, which is to work out how to carry our responsibility for the collaboration with others. I know that sounds a bit school matronly, which is not supposed to, and I'm sure I'm just echoing what Reda said and what you're all experiencing, but the microcosm of what you're doing on the course is very much a reflection of what happens in real life partnerships, and very much a reflection of what you've also pointed to in your plans. I have skim read all the plans that I was sent. I don't think I've had the very latest ones, but I've had a great bunch at the beginning, and it was remarkable to see what you were able to do with all the constraints that we all are very much aware that you face. I do think it was really interesting to see some imagery, and I would strongly urge you, when you revisit your plans, that you really focus in around expanding your horizons and not narrowing them. So the tendency may be that when you get your peer reviews, that you bunker right down and that you get into the detail, and you slightly lose the plot on the opportunity to think very imaginatively and outside the box. So whatever you get back from your peer review, whatever you've already planned, I do urge you to rethink how you can be imaginative in your responses to some of the challenges that you're facing and some of the feedback that you get. And that may mean using visuals. I'm quite an enthusiast for visuals. And I think where people have used visuals, whether they're downloaded from the website or whether they're more imaginative things, they add enormous value to the plan. They make the plan much more vivid, much more dynamic. And I would love you to take that into your revisions, so that in fact your revised plan is really exciting and really something you're very, very keen and eager to share with others, and that really stimulates others to become much more dynamically and imaginatively involved in the whole partnership. So don't get too caught up in the technicalities of it, and do give yourself this unique opportunity to be as expansive and as imaginative in your thinking as you can be. That will, I think, make the whole thing much, much more energized and much more original. And what we're really looking for here is originality, because this is new terrain. And all of us, all of you, have an enormous importance in contributing to the thinking and the working out of how to partner remotely effectively. There isn't an easy answer, as I'm sure you know, but there's a lot of potential for turning this into a very animated way of working. Red, I'm not sure how much time you want me to spend on this, whether we should move on.
I think there are a number of participants who are eager to hear about the update on the level 2 certification. So thank you for these initial remarks, Catherine. Yeah, sorry.
I just before Roz gives an update on the level 2, I just wanted to add that some of you might be thinking, why are peers reviewing my work? Why aren't partnering experts reviewing my work? And whilst everyone who's on this course has got partnering experience and are bringing a different lens, research shows that with the rubric we're working with, there is no difference in the quality that is being provided by a peer review than by a subject matter expert. So it's just to really add value to the peer reviews that you're getting. And each one will be a different prism, a different focus on, or a different lens on the diamond that is your partnership plan. And just to say that, yes, we don't need subject matter experts when we have got such a well-constructed rubric, and to value those peer reviews. Thanks. Over to you, Ros.
Okay, so let's look briefly at level 2, and we're very happy to share much more detail about level 2 early next week. We're keen not to distract you from your peer review process, but we do have more detailed documentation that we'll make available on Monday of next week. Basically, we see this whole program in 2 parts, and we see both of them as being equally important. The first part, which is what you're doing now, is very much a standalone opportunity to reframe and rethink and reconsider long distance or remote partnering as a new kind of paradigm. And we do believe that if you complete the course successfully, and it looks, the statistics are really quite remarkable, as Reda says, so very encouraged and very much assume that most of you will complete successfully. We believe that that will be a standalone achievement which you can be very proud, and which will already have had some impact and will proceed to have further impact on the way you partner. However, we also feel that it's helpful for some people, and this should be a considered choice. The details we'll send on Monday will give you some ideas about the things that you should think about before making a decision as to whether to go on to level 2. And I'll explain why that is in a minute. But we do think that for some, it may be appropriate to move towards trying to get a sort of qualification in the practice of remote partnering. And while this is quite tricky to do remotely, we are very keen to be able to offer that remotely. So level 2 is very much looking at your work in practice as opposed to your plans, which is what level 2 is dealing with. And the difference between level 1 and level 2 is quite purposefully that it will be a very much less supported process. In other words, in level 2, although we'll give you criteria, we'll set out the plans, we'll give you guidelines, we'll direct what we expect you to achieve during level 2. You will be very much more on your own, because it is about how you implement your plan. So the level 2 is picking up on the plan that you finished with at the end of level 1 and giving you 3 to 4 months to roll it out and to put it into practice, and to keep a kind of journal of how things go, what goes well, what doesn't go well, what you've had to change, what was unexpected, what happened that you didn't anticipate, etc., etc. So in a way, charting the course of the implementation of the plan that you developed in level 1. And of course, this has to be done to some extent on your own, because what we need to assess is how effectively you're putting into practice your original thinking and your initial planning. With all the challenges that you face, we totally recognize that it's not just your decision. You're faced with a lot of contextual challenges and partner challenges. So the question is, how do you navigate those challenges when you're left to it on your own? There will be a support desk that you'll be able to ask advice from if you really get to a sticking point, but on the whole, we'll expect you to work on your own. But we will also create communities of practice between those of you who do go on to level 2, so that you can continue this idea of being able to peer support each other. The difference with level 2 is that actually your work will be individually examined by a practitioner who is very experienced in remote partnering, who doesn't know who you are or what organisation you work from, doesn't come from any of the organisations you work with, so there's no conflict of interest, but we'll be examining what you produce, which is a kind of report in the form of a journal that charts the implementation of your plan. So we will give you much more information on Monday, but I hope that's helpful. It is a continuation of level 1, but it is quite different in character. I'm very happy to answer any questions if there are questions to come.
Thank you, Ros.
But just quickly, if you could say when it's going to start and how long it would go for. So it would be starting immediately after the end of level 1, is that right?
No, we need you to apply immediately after the end of level 1, and then there's about 2 weeks until the starting point, and you'd have 3 months to work on this, and then there'd be a month in which your work is being assessed, and then we'll get back to you with the decision about whether to give you a certificate in remote partnering practice. The difference between level 2 is that we're really focusing on your practice as opposed to your understanding of the theory of remote partnering.
Thank you, Roz and Catherine. I'm concerned that to make sure we leave room for the participant presentations, which are the main course in the discussion group. So I suggest we keep moving with a quick update about the remote coffee trials. So we're still receiving occasional reports, but I wanted to share this. I'm already applying some of the learnings I got from this course with my team. This is from the this week's feedback. And I also wanted to share that based on what happened in this course, my little scholar team decided to try remote coffee trials with a new course in French, and the participants from 30 different African countries are loving every minute of it, and just very excited and very enthusiastic, and saying, just speaking very highly of it. So through this course, we have already created one new approach, one new way, or adapted it to the specific context of remote partnering and learning. You'll find the key reminder about the resources, because many of you express an interest of it while seeming to lack time to actually consult them and reflect on them. We had a and I really want to salute the team leaders. I believe if we have such a high number of remote partnering plans in peer review, some of them we know would not have happened, would not have made it to the finish line without support from their team leaders. So really want to acknowledge that. And now you'll find the full slide deck of your feedback. Thank you. I think we have 32 or 34 in the end participants who took the time to give us feedback and help us improve. Again, Catherine and I have selected 2 slides from the full set. So Catherine, very quickly, if you could tell us what you selected and why.
Yes, thank you, Retta. I selected the lack of time slide because we had half a group saying they had the time and the time factor was fine, and then we had another half of the group who felt the time constraints cut it short, cut the discussion short. They felt they had to cram everything into 5 days, and so really it is, we're in a pilot here. We've picked 4 weeks. We also made the decision to share the remote partnering workbook a month ago so that everyone could have time to look through the book. But clearly, time is a factor for people, and it will get in the way of them being able to delve more deeply into it. But what we would say is that do use the other weeks as part of the distilling process, that even though you had to cram in 5 days, the actual plan, you do have those weeks for the revisions, for the thinking through, for the adding to it, so that actually, yes, there are dedicated activities for each week, but we hope that you'll be able to use the time flexibly and creatively to ensure that you give the time that you wanted to. Over to you, Reda.
Thank you, Catherine. So the slide I picked out of the feedback was one that summarizes some of the strategies through which you've been reporting, you've been able to make progress in the course, and hoping that this will encourage others who are still feeling overwhelmed or confused to persist. So one was the advice on checking in 30 minutes each day. The other was really finding the structured sections of the rubric as a useful writing aid to focus on drafting the plan. Another person said, once the aim and the setting the scene was drafted, finalizing the rest of the plan was a wonderful exercise, and this person is waiting for peer reviews for improvement. Another person took care to, and had the realization that this was going to take time and effort, and that there was no shortcut to actually developing that that plan. So really, this is how she or he did it, and then support from the course team was cited at least once. So the schedule overview, it's very simple. You can look at the slide deck if you want to dig in. All you need to know is really your 3 peer reviews are due tomorrow. You'll find the links in the materials panel that to the update with a full set of instructions, really step by step how you do peer review. Obviously, if you're here in this session and you have not done peer review, it's demonstrating your commitment, the commitment that enabled you to finish that remote partnering plan last week. Now it's time to honor the commitment you have made to peers in the course by signing up. That's really what the next 24, 48 hours are about. So thank you to the team leaders, to the participants. You've made it. If you've made it this far, now you can really enjoy the benefits of the peer review process, and you use those benefits, those inputs, to improve, revise, and finalize a plan that hopefully you'll be able to use when you get back to your partnership. Participant presentations, we're eager to hear about your experience of peer review. So even though a very small, a relatively small number of you have have actually completed peer reviews, we know who you are, and if you'd like to raise your hand to volunteer to present, again, you'll have 3 minutes to share your experience of peer review, and I can pull up on the screen one of the works you're reviewing. This is a bit of a break with anonymity, but we think it's well worth it to be able to share openly in our community. So do we have any volunteers? So, all right, let's try Sylvia Huaynoka. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. Are you able to unmute your microphone? And if so, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Sylvia. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Yeah, well, I think that the peer review was, I think, something that helped me a lot in completing is having the that chart that you shared with us about the peer review instructions, but like the schedule, the ratings, right?
Yeah, let me try to help you a little bit. This is on the right-hand side is your review. This is one of the plans you reviewed. I believe the person who produced this is not with us in the session. So can you, I'll now start the timer, and you have 3 minutes to tell us about your experience and your insights, what you gained, how you went about it, and share your advice with others who are going to have to do theirs in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Yes. Well, first I read quickly the whole plan. And then I just tried to understand very well, right, like what was it about? And for each section, I made sure to understand also what we are looking for, so I could grade accordingly. And in some cases, for example, I tried to, if I graded like a 2 or 3, if something was missing, I also tried to include there what I thought would enhance that section. And the instructions we receive, I think, are very helpful, like when we grade this, because it tells us, right, like this is what we are looking for, I mean, creativity, we are looking for a focus, and in which way. So I think that helps us to grade. And I think that my advice is just to understand first very well what the plan is. I mean, that helped me a lot to read the whole plan, or just quickly, right, read it, and then go to each of those sections. And also, don't be afraid. It doesn't take a long time to do this. If you wrote your plan, you'll see that this is like, okay, no, it doesn't take that long. And it's a good reflection for our own plan too. And then I realized, oh no, I need to add that to my plan.
Sylvia, did anything surprise you about the peer review process and what how it went for you?
Well, I learned, in many cases, I learned a lot about like what the other person was doing, and in others, the experiences that they were going through were the same I was going through in different contexts. And I think that that was something that was that was something very interesting for me.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. And if there are any questions for Sylvia about her presentation, what she shared about her experience of peer review, please type them in the chat. I do want to highlight, you'll notice that here under each feedback in that Sylvia has submitted, there is now a comment box. And this is to enable feedback on feedback. So if the author of this work, when he or she receives the feedback, wants to know more about a suggestion or wants to request additional advice, or do you have any experience with this? Can you help me? What would be, how would you, or wants to just say, that was a great suggestion, thank you. You can actually continue the dialogue while keeping the anonymity. If you want to lift the anonymity, you just say, hey, this is Sylvia. And in your case for this work, anonymity might be compromised, but I don't think there should be any harm done. So the feedback on feedback will be an important part of the experience. All right, we have time for one other presentation. So again, I'm going to call for volunteers. And if I see no volunteers, I will go to another person who has already completed their 3 peer reviews. And let's try Mohammed Amar. Mohammed, how are you doing? I know that you had some challenges submitting your plan, so I was really glad to see it coming in. Just want to highlight a couple of comments from Shamnaz Ahmed. The rubric is useful to give feedback and improve the remote partnership plan. It also helps me to realize the scopes of improvement of my plan. And Hala says, rubric was useful for me to help in navigating the peer review. How are you doing, Mohammed? Hello, Mohammed, are you able to hear us? Hello, Mohammed. Okay, otherwise, if Mohammed seems to have an issue with his microphone, let's go to, let me see, to Maria Montejo. Is Maria with us? Yes. Okay. Maria, how are you doing? Are you able to unmute yourself so that we can give you time to share your experience of peer review? Oh. Hello, Maria. Are you able to unmute yourself? Okay. All right. Well, Maria, yes?
Yes, hi.
Great. All right. So let me just find the work that you reviewed and bring it up on screen. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm at the airport. I'm waiting for my flight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for going the extra mile to join us. Are you able to see my screen with your review on it?
It's too small. Yeah. I can see it.
Okay,
now.
great. All right. So you have 3 minutes. I'll be scrolling through bits and pieces of your review, and tell us about your experience of the peer review process, what you gained, what surprised you. The floor is yours.
Wait. Okay. Yeah. Wait. I'll just familiarize myself with the plan. Can you focus on the plan?
Yeah. And if you are the author of the plan, please bear with us, and you'll get to hear maybe some comments and insights that are not in the text of the peer review. All right. Go ahead, Maria.
Yeah. Sorry, I reviewed 3 plans, so
Right.
I can't remember. I couldn't remember anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
if it's not this specific one, maybe just if you can share overall what were the takeaways from you, and then I did want to show just how different people formulate feedback that will perhaps help people who still have their peer reviews to do.
All right. Yeah. Basically, if you have already familiarized yourself with the workbook, then that's the main guide, and the need to focus on the specific partnering cycle that you need to focus on, and what are the partnering principles that you will observe when you do the plans. And some of the plans do not have direct connection with the remote partnering or the remote aspects of it, and that's what they need to connect with. And for the rubric, some are repetitions of each of the sections, so they just need also to be more concise with how they develop each section. And they don't need to answer all the questions per se, but to for the writers to be more concise and brief in 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 answering. Like if it's enough to bring it down to few paragraphs, then that's it. And also, I noticed that they spent more time with the aim and context, and then they fell short on the latter parts of the section.
Okay, thank you very much, Maria. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and yes, each session does feel very short. So we're trying to find the best balance, the sweet spot. As you're telling us two things, you're telling us you find these sessions and too short and lacking time for reflection. But on the other hand, you're also telling us how incredibly busy you are, and how you're struggling even with a 30-minute discussion group and very short tasks in the community and the fairly reasonable, hopefully, main course project. So I know we cannot, and there's an incredible diversity in terms of how much time and how much availability people are able to manage. So thank you to both of you for sharing your experience of peer review. Of course, there'll be another feedback questionnaire, and do take the time to share your feedback. Send us a message. Don't just tick the boxes. Again, I know it may be a lack of time that's preventing you from doing it, but that really is helpful to us.